Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am first of all going to apologise for a little bit of sporadic activity on my channel recently, as there's been a few missed weeks. It's been a bit of a busy time. I feel like I say this a lot, but I also know how much you are all brilliant at just supporting and saying, do what you can when you can. We really understand that you are doing this amongst other stuff. So thank you again for the people who've got in touch recently to say, are you okay? I hope you're not too stressed, this, that and the other, because there's been a few of you that have reached out and I really appreciate it. But today I thought I would do a little novel update because in one of my videos recently, I can't remember which one it was, I was talking about kind of what my plans were with the novel for this part of the year. And I finished quite an exciting step in that plan recently. So I'll tell you my plan first. I've had a few new subscribers just over the last few weeks. So if this is the first video of mine that you're finding, or if you've only just recently subscribed, you don't know the backstory, I am a published writer. I have 2 non-fiction books about women's history. And at the moment, I'm currently editing my very first fiction novel. So I made a video before Christmas. I think it was before Christmas, but basically around the end of 2024, beginning of this year, I made a pact to finish writing the first draft of my fiction novel. Now, this is a novel that I've been writing for many, many years. I've got very stuck along the way. I've had writer's block. I've had crises of confidence. I say crises because there have been many. But at the end of this year, I was like, no, I am determined. This has to happen now, because if it doesn't happen now, I don't feel like it's ever going to happen. So I had this kind of epiphany moment, also backed up with, I did a writing course over the autumn. It was absolutely brilliant. It really inspired me. It really got me focused on the project. And it just gave this new lease of life of this is definitely what I want to do. So I made a deal with myself that I would finish writing the first draft by the end of 2024, sorry. And I think it was like New Year's Day when I finished writing the actual manuscript. And it was so exciting to get to that moment where I was like, oh my God, I finished the first draft of my manuscript. And I remember seeing a TikTok around that time of somebody saying, it was a bit of like a TikTok like text thing. It's like it changes your brain chemistry finishing your first draft, because finally you prove to yourself that you can finish a project. And I saw that TikTok around that time when I was finishing my book, and I was like, yeah, it's just the usual kind of inspirational quote thing. But it really did. It really changed the way that I thought about this project, because it's a finished story now. I mean, it's not finished as in ready to go to an agent yet, but it's a complete story. It's a complete narrative. And once it gets to that stage, it does change the way you think about the project, because you start going, oh, actually, I can do this, I can write, and now I only need to edit it, and then I can start sending it out into the world, and maybe somebody will want to read it. So that was very exciting. So now we obviously are at the beginning of April. So in the new year, I said that this was the plan for me for this year. So my plan was I took January off writing. I took a complete month, didn't read what I'd written. I didn't write anything. I just needed a bit of a break after like really kind of going quite heavy in the autumn and the early winter. So I took January off, and then February, March and April were my 3 months to edit the book. And there is a video of me printing off my manuscript. I'm looking at it here. That's my manuscript. I printed it off. It is huge. It's 380 pages of A4, but it is single page printed and it's double line spaced so that I could kind of write between the lines. So, it is a lot of pages at the moment. It's going to get bigger. I'll come on to talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I printed it off and I did a little video of that. And then, like I say, February, March and April are my months to edit, to kind of get the book. What I wanted to do and what I have done is print it out, read through it all first as a reader, as just somebody reading, and any thoughts that come to me, getting them down on the page, but not going into any hard editing. And then once I'd done that read through, got some ideas of things that I needed to go back and change and move around and this, that and the other, I would then do those edits. And then with the intention that by the beginning of May, I am going to send this out to beta readers. And I say am going to do because I'm trying to stay so positive with this project. If you don't know me very well, like I say, if this is the first video you're coming to, or if you're a relatively new subscriber, you may not know, but I actually have a full-time job. I work as a marketing consultant. And so I do my writing, I do my YouTube and my creative work around my full-time work. And so I say am because despite all of those, despite, it sounds like I'm like, struggling or something, but even though I have full-time work, I am so committed to getting this project to a point where I can send it out to beta readers and I can start sending it out to agents. So, sorry, getting ahead of myself. My plan is that at the beginning of May, I will send it out to a selection of beta readers. Now, I have a few people on a list, people that have either offered their services or friends or family members, people who I know have a specific set of skills. Sounds like Liam Neeson. I'm not sending it to Liam Neeson, but have certain skills and will be able to read it in a certain way. I've got somebody who is very good at spotting grammatical problems and any kind of colloquial phrases. I've got somebody else who just read it for the vibes and will tell me whether they think it's like got a good flow to it or not. So I'm going to send it out to all those people, ask them to read it throughout the month of May and make notes on what they think. Brutally honest notes as well. I need to know exactly what people think about the book. Then I'm going to take the month of June to take all those comments on board and make some more edits to the book. And also throughout May, I'm going to be really busy because one of my clients that I work with on marketing is a literature festival, Huddersfield Literature Festival, and their festival is in May. So May is going to be really busy with my marketing work. I'm not going to be able to think about the book. So hopefully when I come back to it in June, I'll be looking at it again with another fresh pair of eyes and with all of the feedback from other people. So I will, at that point, go in, make some final edits, finish off any edits that I feel, and then hopefully, I'm really hoping that by the beginning of July I'm going to feel confident, or at least like a bit confident to send it out to some I don't know, oh gosh, suddenly I got very anxious then saying that. That's weird. To send it out to some agents. And I don't know why I'm getting anxious, because this could never be picked up, or it could take a while. It could take a year for an agent to read it and get back to me and say, oh gosh, yeah, that sounds great, I want to read it. So I'm really trying to keep a level head about it, because I'm not assuming that I'm going to get agent representation for this book. But I'm hoping, I'm manifesting, I'm putting everything out into the world and hoping that the book gets picked up. But yeah, that's the plan. So where am I in that plan? We are at the beginning of April and I have finished the full read through. So I'm really excited. That's where I'm at the moment. That's why I wanted to give you a little bit of an update, because I can talk to you about the book and about the project. So I've read it through from beginning to end and I'm okay with it. No, I know. I feel like I should probably love it more and be more like, oh my God, this is the best book I've ever read, blah, blah, blah. It's not. At the moment, it's not the best book ever, and that's because I was so focused on just getting the structure, like the bare bones of the narrative out before Christmas, that there's definitely some gaps in the book, and there's bits where I'm like, I need to clarify this, I need to go into more depth. There's not as much clunky writing as I assumed there would be, and by clunky writing I mean like when you're reading through the sentences and you go, oh my God, that's really badly written. I thought there would be a lot of that, to be honest, because at times I was really not feeling inspired to write, but I was forcing myself to sit down. I was like, no, just keep writing, just keep going. It doesn't matter if these sentences are terrible. You can come back and you can rewrite them at a later date. So I was like forcing myself, and I thought, gosh, some of this writing is going to be absolutely horrendous. And I'm reading through it and I'm thinking, there's a few sentences like that where I'm like, oh, this is a bit clunky. But there wasn't as many as I expected, to be honest, and I'm really happy with that, because it shows that I can write to a certain extent. I can write something that's interesting and engaging. It gives me that little bit of confidence that actually I'm not just totally deluded thinking I can write a book. Like I've read enough books now and I've done enough writing that hopefully I do think I can write a story. So it needs a lot of work. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised, or pleasantly unsurprised. I don't really know. I don't know very much how to communicate how I'm feeling about the book very well, as you can probably tell from the way that I am stuttering and using my hands a lot. I'm gesticulating quite a lot. But I think the biggest thing that I learnt whilst I was reading through this is that whilst the kind of structure is there, there's a few kind of key issues that I need to address. One is the pacing. I feel like I spend an awful lot of time starting the book and then the end of the book is there, but then there's very little kind of, you kind of go all the way up and then all the way down. Does that make any sense? But like when you're reading a book, and I think it's because I haven't really gone for a 3-act structure, and that's generally how books tend to work. You have a setup act, you have the middle act, and then you have the resolution. And I haven't really gone for that. I've just kind of written as I felt the story needed to be written. But I'm sensing that for the pacing of the book, I need to just balance things out a bit. I need to do less of the setup, less of the description, or if the setup and the description is good, I maybe need to spend more time kind of stretching out the middle a little bit and making it a little bit more meaty, putting more time in there. I think at the moment the events of my book happen over maybe like a 2-3 week period, and I think I maybe need to stretch that time out a little bit more, have the main character being at the lighthouse for longer and have different things happening. And this is where I'm trying not to write an epic that's going to be like, 1,000 pages long. But at the same time, there's definitely some development of the scene and place that needs to happen within that kind of pacing, I think, that will help. So that's a big issue that I need to work, not an issue, but a big point, a big kind of piece of work that I need to work on. The second thing that I wondered was, because my book crosses 3 different time periods, I was wondering at what point we should introduce the 2 historical characters. So there's my main character who is in the kind of the present day. I say in these things because the main kind of thread of the book is set in the early noughties, and I did that because I didn't want social media. I didn't really want very kind of technological mobile phones. I wanted it to still feel a little less kind of technologically connected, so I set it in the early noughties. And then we go back to the war period, so the post-war, this post-Second World War period, and then we go all the way back to the early 1800s with my third character. So I was trying to decide when we introduced the 2 historical characters. So my main character discovers some letters and journals, and through those letters and journals learns about the 1940s character and how the 1940s character was researching the 1800s character. So it's kind of like layers. You're kind of peeling back the layers. So Laura, my main character, peels back one layer and finds Elsie, and then peels back the layers and finds Rab, who is another character. So it's like, how do I introduce those characters to you as the reader? Do I have a process where right at the beginning all 3 characters are on the page and you're kind of getting to know them, but then it would feel like you knew them before Laura knew them? So the way that it's written at the moment is that she finds the books and the letters, and as she finds them, that's when we meet the first character. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I think I'm going to stick with that. Not because I want to, shirk any responsibility about moving chapters around and moving characters around and that kind of thing. I just feel like, for me as a reader, I would prefer to find out at the same time as my main character, to be discovering things at the same time. So when I have a sense of wonder about something, so does the character that I'm reading. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So that's good in a way, because it means there's not as much work involved. But still, that was a whole process that I was going through in my mind and thinking about it while I was reading through the book. And then the third kind of thing is just fleshing it out. It needs fleshing out. A lot of the characters are very one-dimensional at the moment. There's not too much description of place. Now, I don't like a lot of description. I think that heavy description is quite an old-fashioned way of writing now, something that we used to find kind of in the 90s and a lot earlier. There used to be lots of descriptive, and you know, you think about kind of Victorian and Edwardian, and kind of the early 20th century books were heavy on description. You would have like 2-3 pages describing a place or a building or a person. We don't really tend to do that much anymore in modern novels, but there still needs to be some, because you need to guide the reader on how they then imagine and create the place in their mind. So I just need to flesh things out a little bit more. I spotted a couple of plot holes. Not plot holes, but like I set up a character and then we never hear from that character again, which is a pretty big problem. So I need to go back and kind of resolve that character. Only very minor. It's a very, very minor person, but I wanted my main character to kind of think badly of somebody, but then it actually turns out that it's not that person that she's thinking badly of. So I need to kind of do that, and I need to write that in. So yeah, I think I finished it feeling, when I read it through, I finished feeling quite optimistic, and at the same time I'm now feeling quite intimidated about how much work I've got to do in a month around a full-time job. So yeah. So there may be a few videos of like a day in the life of a writer, or edit my novel with me, you know, kind of where I vlog the process, because I find that vlogging helps me keep accountable. You know, if I'm having to film for YouTube, then I'm also having to sit down and do the work so that I can film it. So it helps me to keep accountable. It helps me to create that time to actually sit down and do the editing and do the work. But yes, this is the book. Yeah, I didn't come up with a title throughout the course of reading. I did come up with a little quote that I'm going to put on the kind of first page. You know, you have the title page and then the next page, a little quote from the actual book that I would quite like to put there. But I haven't come up with a title yet. I'm really bad at titling things, so who knows? I mean, I'm going to have to come up with a title by July when I start sending it out for submission. But at the moment, I'm going to focus on the book itself and worry about the title later. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's my little update on how the book's doing and where I'm at. And I will be back again next week with another video. If you want to support me and the writing that I do, then please do consider following me on Patreon, become a patron of my channel, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It'd be great to join our little community. So right, I'm going to go. Tom's walking in, so he's going to disturb me now. All right, love?
You're not going to fucking disturb you.
Disturbing me when I'm recording? Right, thank you very much. If you've watched this far, put a book in the comments, because that's what we're doing, writing a book. And let me know how you're getting on with your projects. If I know quite a few of you who subscribe to me are writing your own books and working on your own projects. Let me know how it's going. And yeah, if you've got any questions about the process, about what I'm going through, what I'm doing, just let me know. All right, I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye.